Garen Emig and Bill Haisten dropping by to talk sports as we move through another week of spring weather and the spring sports calendar.
Yep.
Which means we're outside more, and we're talking about things like golf and baseball and softball, with a little basketball and football perhaps thrown in before we wrap. And Bill, a lot of the talk around the sports that are ongoing right now in the spring, because they are outdoors, is pretty sunny, and not just because of any weather. It's because of the fact that the CDC has made announcements that encourage people to, if nothing else, use best judgment with regard to mask wearing, alleviating the necessity for mask wearing, and that translates into happier fans at games because it feels more like it used to. And it sounds like that's how it's going to work when the senior PGA event comes to town next week, correct?
This week, practice rounds Tuesday and Wednesday, Garen, and then it is a 72-hole championship that starts on the 27th, which is a Thursday through Sunday. And I've been corresponding today again with Brian Carnes, who's the championship director for the PGA of America. He's been a boots on the ground guy here for months. He's been here a long time. And in fact, he'll just segue. Think about this. I mean, as soon as this week's PGA Championship in South Carolina concludes, Southern Hills is on the clock for next year.
That's right.
PGA Championship. So they've kind of got a week there of overlap, where they're conducting the senior PGA Championship at the same time that they're the preparation for the 22 PGA Championship is ongoing. But here is the mask language for South Carolina this week, the PGA Championship in South Carolina. Okay, the mask language is that mask wearing outdoors is recommended, not required. Indoor mask wearing is mandatory, and I'm told to expect that same language in Tulsa, not required but recommended outside, and then absolutely required inside. Now, that's interesting too, Garen, because all those hospitality venues, those chalets and tents and all, they're all technically open air.
Yeah.
So you can, presuming that we are going to get that notification here in a day or two, that it's required, that it's recommended but not required, then you can pretty much go anywhere on the property at Southern Hills next week without a mask, except inside the clubhouse.
Okay.
So there's that. And one real departure from past championships is there's always been the ability, if you're patient enough and crafty enough, you can get up close to these players and get an autograph and get a picture, a little bit of talk time maybe. None of that's going to happen. Ain't none of that. There is no up close interaction with the players whatsoever. So that's a difference. I was looking through our archives and seeing pictures of Arnold Palmer just slammed with autograph fans here at Southern Hills 51 years ago. Pretty cool picture too, actually. Yeah, we've got golf coming next week. John Daly will be here, Fred Couples, just pretty much the great majority of the best players in the world, 50 or older, will be here next week. So I mean, I'm fired up about it. I'll be really super fired up next year to have another major championship here next year. But that's where we stand. I'm just glad that we have the event, Garen.
Sure.
It's an attendance limit daily of 8,000, which is about right for this event. And I haven't even looked at the forecast. At this point, I think we're to a point where everybody just says thank you. I mean, hopefully, we have really nice weather. We've had only the last month or so has been the best spring weather of all time.
No doubt.
We could linger with that for another week, but we'll see what the weather looks like.
Well, to your point, it's very interesting. You talk about still there being restrictions in terms of the gallery and who you can approach and where you have to draw the line. You went to the Driller season opener, and I know you were encouraged by, again, something that looked a lot like it used to. A big sporting event, heart of the city, not a full house, but still a good crowd. People again are feeling better about the mask requirement, ease off, the announcements from the CDC, the administration, anything else. And yet I don't suppose, there were a lot of kids down by the driller's dugout getting autographs. That we still draw the line with regard to protecting really, well, both fans and players in cases like that. So
yeah, that was an awesome night. Beautiful, cool weather, 55 degrees by mid game, which I was completely fine with. It was beautiful at night. But yeah, 5,000 people. Like you say, just, part of it was just relief just to be back in a ballpark and to do something we've been doing our whole lives, But yeah, we've got, you mentioned softball. You have written more softball this year probably than you've ever written in your life. And you know why? Because they're relevant more every year. It seems like these Bedlam softball programs. Now, OU really, I mean, they can't really go much higher with regard to achievement. I think we're all just catching up with the recognition of the greatness of the OU program. But now you've got this thing going on in Stillwater, and you got Kenny's program.
No doubt. Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you're going to have the best pound for pound, the best state in the country for college softball. You already had the best program. And now if you have a consistent top 10 type Oklahoma State program, yikes.
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty glorious for Oklahoma softball.
Well, we'll follow it obviously through the next couple of weeks, assuming the Cowgirls and Sooners get out of their regionals this weekend at home. They're in line to host Supers, and then hopefully are on track for Oklahoma City. Yeah, I wrote, Bill, after the second game of that 3-game Big 12 championship series in Stillwater, I wrote that right now I thought the most compelling Bedlam sport was softball because of the angle you had with Gasso and Gajewski's history. Because OSU had beaten OU Friday night to stop literally a decade-long losing streak in the series. But when softball's played well, it's about as cool as it gets because it moves quickly. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of you got the chance of it still being out of the dugouts. You've got pitchers throwing bullets. You've got hitters. You watch Allo swing or Sidney Pennington for OSU swing, and it looks as pure as anything you'd get out of Bedlam baseball. And when you've got it's just sort of a cracker box mentality, like you got in the best days of Bedlam basketball when you put two teams in a full Lloyd Noble or Gallagher Iba, and it's sort of just a feeling that emanates when those teams get together. I hope they meet again in Oklahoma City. And I hope it's a little better game than the one that decided the Big 12 tournament title. That went south for OSU quickly. But I still believe in the Cowgirls going toe-to-toe with Oklahoma should they get another crack at them. Right. On the subject of masks.
Garen, what you say about it, I just want to piggyback.
Sure. Yeah.
You say that's the most compelling Bedlam series or competition as we speak. I agree absolutely 100% because it's the only Bedlam rivalry at which both programs are either at or this close to the absolute pinnacle in the country right now, right?
Right.
So, basketball is always going to be a more heated, consumed by a lot more people, and football is what it is. But Bedlam softball right now, especially if Kenny takes one more step,
right,
then that's as heated and as beautiful. That is the Iron Bowl of college softball. The Bedlam softball rivalry. It would be must see and it just makes me wonder too if they're ever going to build a new ballpark for Kenny, but that's a topic you or I can address sometime.
But
everything else over there about except wrestling needs a new venue and softball sure needs a new venue.
Sure. Yeah. Listen, before we get away from again the stuff related to the pandemic and COVID, it's been a while since we've done one of these. You've written one of the most interesting pieces that's appeared in our section in a while when you got an audience with Dr. Bruce Dart in Tulsa, and you spoke about the hope of that's tied into next college football season. And I know Bruce is a big Husker fan. It's not just he's genuine when he talks in football terms because he lives it as a Nebraska fan, as you pointed out in your past work. I thought that was fascinating, and again, made you feel that it's not just the day-to-day things with regard to the vaccinations and the CDC updates. You just feel like things are everyone's exhaling again, and I think everyone got that feeling reading your column after talking to Bruce. So I wanted to give you a chance to address that.
Hey, one of the first pieces I wrote after the shutdown was, I don't know if you remember, but Caden McFarland of KJRH was the first sports anchor to do it from home.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, holy cow, that's where we are now?
Yeah.
We do this from home. And so I called him and I wrote a blog about it. And Caden's comment to me, and I have recycled it maybe a couple of times even, but he said, the mental health aspect of this pandemic, I don't even remember if he used the term pandemic then, but he said the mental aspect of all this is going to be a very, very important story.
Right.
It's going to become a very important story here. He said, can you imagine if we have 6 or 8 weeks of this shutdown?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, I can't imagine 6 or 8 weeks. We're here in our 15th month, I think 15th or 16th month of it. And so, but you know what, now coming off of what we just went through with a really weird football season, but one that at least we crowned champion. At least we got to the finish line of a disjointed, weird season. And then we got through a weird basketball season. But it almost feels to me now like we're ahead of schedule. You know what I mean? On kind of normalcy. And it almost feels like we're rushing a little bit. But then when you hear somebody like Bruce Dart say, it's okay, it's all right.
Yeah.
To chill and expect something good because of the rate, the rate of vaccinations, and at least initially, was so heavy that a lot of people got the vaccine. And so I guess more recently, there's been a real drop in the rate of vaccinations. But, I just wanted to hear from Dr. Dart.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear from Mike Gundy or Lincoln or any administrator or coach what to expect. We tried that last year, and that was a massive fail. So let's go with somebody more qualified. And that was just really I wanted to ask Bruce or Dr. Dart, how reasonable or realistic is it to expect a normal football season where you have 80,000 in Norman and 50,000 in Stillwater, and even like without masking and and he said, he said, it's very reasonable to expect it. He said, we do need more people to get vaccinated, but we've had so much positive response into this that, we still got some people who need to get the vaccine. But he said, I'm confident we're going to have what you describe as a normal, or what I describe as a normal football season, both at the college and high school levels in Oklahoma. And then I asked a little bit about, the frequency of testing. And he said, I don't even think that's going to be necessary as long as these guys are vaccinated.
Yeah.
You'll always want to retain the ability to do it on an immediate basis. But how many times were these guys typically getting tested last season? Twice in season per week? Does that sound right?
3 times. 3 times. It was 3 times. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he said that shouldn't be necessary this year. You would always want to have the ability to do it and to make, just to make sure, but that he doesn't anticipate that that frequency of testing is going to be necessary this year. So, I mean, I kept waiting we talked about 15 minutes, and I kept waiting for him to like drop something heavy on me and like throw a real, throw something on me that would like darken the mood or something. He just didn't. He was so optimistic that I felt pretty good after coming off that phone call. I really did. And God only knows that the schools at OU and OSU are desperate to get a normal season in. I mean, for this collective psychological well-being of everybody, but also they got to start making up some of that money they lost.
Yeah. No, there's both. And if you don't think that Absolutely, it's right to put the players through. They have every right to have things go back to normal, given the sacrifices they made a year ago. And when coaches say we want their health and safety to come first, I still believe that we also, though, aren't naive enough to know that there was a financial element to all of this, and there is some catching up, especially in some of the smaller corners of college athletics. Hey, a couple more things that you've written about recently. I wanted to ask about related to OSU basketball. One, the Eddie Sutton, the Hall of Fame ceremony, long awaited. Speaking of long awaited, Eddie gets his due. Obviously, they have the ceremony involving Coach Sutton's induction into the Hall of Fame, and Bryce Thompson. Speaking of long awaited, pulls the trigger. Pardon the pun, and is off to Oklahoma State to continue his college basketball career. You pick which one you want to hit first.
Oh, as far as Bryce and Oklahoma State goes, I I remember you tweeting it, and I thought it from the start of that. It was an exactly a month-long process. He went into the portal on the 13th of April, and he announced for Oklahoma State on the 13th of May. So you thought that OSU was the best fit for him. I thought all along he would end up at Oklahoma State. I know that there was a great priority expressed by his dad for Bryce to play closer to home. Well, Lawrence is just up the road. Garen, you just got back from Lawrence.
I can literally vouch for that. That's right.
Right. But so it felt all along like an in-state school would be his landing spot. TU was really given a good look. I know that, so was OU. But it just felt like Boynton and the Thompson family had a really good experience during the first recruiting go around, the first process. It just felt like that was inevitable. As far as Coach Sutton finally getting in, it would have been cool if it had happened 8 years ago when he could have gone there for the weekend and really savored it,
Sure.
As is, in the opinion of a lot of people, including me, it was way overdue and inexplicable in that his credentials to get in that Hall of Fame are exactly the same today as they were 10 or 12 years ago. It never changed. His win total, his postseason success, all of it. So for whatever reason, though, the family had to wait until 2021 for Coach Sutton to be inducted into that, which is the most prestigious of all basketball halls of fame, because he's already in every other one.
Sure.
But to have been denied membership in this particular Hall of Fame for so long was weird, and it actually felt actually really petty, and you just couldn't understand it. But he's in today. You mentioned before we started, I think, that Vanessa Bryant's message was powerful. It was fantastic, and Tamika Catchings, how impressive was she, and Tim Duncan, and all of it. So it was great that was like the one positive for Coach Sutton having to wait, and his family having to wait this long as he went in with a hell of a class.
That's right.
Like one of the all-timers, if not the greatest class ever. So
no,
it was cool. It was cool to I got to say, though, I got tired of writing that year after year after year. Coach Eddie Sutton denied again.
Yeah, I know.
Sixth time. And then so when he finally got in, my jaw dropped. I was like, I'm glad for the family, but why now? Why not 2 years ago?
No kidding.
Years ago. So he's in. That's good.
Yeah. We'll leave on a good note then. Next week, talk more about, obviously, because it will be Golf Week in Tulsa, the Senior PGA getting going next week. So we'll load up on that. Should we talk about the Thunder at all? We've kind of tiptoed around that mess.
I watched every game because
you're stronger than I am, man.
I want to be able to say I watched every game.
Oh my goodness.
I just think the best advice I have for the Thunder is don't do this again.
Yeah.
Do this again. Good gracious. I mean, effective opening day next season, you got to try to win every game.
Golly.
Right.
All right.
Garen, the Vegas win total in the preseason on the Thunder was 22.5. 22.5. Okay. They had 19 wins in late March.
Yeah.
And they did not get there. They finished 22-50. Talk about a bad beat. If Van Pelt
That's
wants to
right. That's right.
beat, there's you a bad beat.
Yeah. All right. Good seeing you again. We'll talk next week. Keep reading us, keep watching us, and we'll keep cranking it out for you.
All right, Garen. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.